If you were in Beijing in early September this year, you would have seen an atmosphere that was no different from a real-life blockbuster. Thousands of soldiers marching in unison, tanks painted in camouflage green rumbling, and in the sky, the roar of J-20 fighters tearing apart the air of the Chinese capital. The reason for this scene is a very special event. China held a large-scale military parade to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the victory over fascism in World War II. At first hearing, many people might wonder, wait, didn't World War II end in 1945? So why is China still holding such a grand military parade now? The answer is not simply a commemorative ritual. Behind it is a political, military, diplomatic message that Beijing wants to send, not only to its people, but also to the whole world. And to fully understand that, we need to go back to history, analyze the meaning, and dissect each layer of hidden meaning hidden in the hours-long weapon display. Chapter 1. Causes and Historical Significance of the Event. 1. Why is China celebrating the 80th anniversary of the victory over fascism? First of all, it must be affirmed that during World War II, China was one of the bloodiest battlefields. As early as 1937, when Japan launched a full-scale invasion of Chinese territory, millions of soldiers and civilians of this country fell. According to historian statistics, China had up to 14 million people killed and more than 100 million people forced to leave their homes during the 8 years of resistance against Japan. Therefore, for China, holding a military parade to mark the 80th anniversary of the victory over fascism is not simply a matter of reviewing the past and learning from the past, but also a reminder to the world that we are also one of the countries that paid a terrible price in blood to contribute to the common victory of mankind. A2. Reaffirmation of historical role. For many decades after 1945, China's role in the victory over fascism was often overshadowed by its two larger allies, the Soviet Union on the European East Asian front and the US with its decisive battles in the Pacific. But at the present time, Beijing wants to rewrite, or at least re-emphasize, the chapter of China's history in the World War. Holding a military parade is a way for China to reaffirm its position on the map of victory in 1945. It's like a reminder, do not forget that without China's steadfast resistance to Japan since 1937, the World War would have been much bloodier and longer. 3. A symbolic political ritual. In addition to the historical aspect, the military parade also has domestic political significance. In the context of many socio-economic challenges, organizing a national event like this is a way for Beijing to strengthen solidarity and evoke national pride. When people see the image of a strong army and thousands of fluttering flags, they will feel the solidity of the Chinese motherland, a great spiritual medicine. 4. Humorous connection. Parasailing is like watching fireworks. Someone once jokingly said that for Beijing people, the National Day Parade or the victory celebration is no different from watching fireworks on New Year's Eve. The only difference is that instead of the bright lights in the sky, we see flares from tanks, rockets, and the sound of jet engines. Of course, that is just a humorous perspective, but it also partly shows the appeal of parades to the Chinese public. Chapter 2. Analyzing China's military strength through the parasite. 1. Overview of the military stage in Beijing. This parade has the participation of more than 15,000 soldiers, nearly 500 modern weapons, and more than 200 aircraft. This number is not just a dry statistic, but also reflects in part China's growing military power. When we look at the defense map, we can see that China is arranging its forces like a steel arc, surrounding from the East China Sea to the South China Sea to the Tibetan Plateau. And in the parade, all the equipment suitable for each battlefield was cleverly displayed. 2. Notable weapons. DF-41 ballistic missile, considered to be the star of the parade, with the ability to carry multiple nuclear weapons, a range of up to 12,000 kilometers, that is, reaching U.S. territory in just a few dozen minutes. J-20 stealth fighter, the pride of the Chinese Air Force, known as the Asian version of the Raptor. Although experts are still debating its true features, the image of the J-20 flying over Beijing still creates the feeling that China has entered the stealth club. Type 99A tank, modern armored force considered not much inferior to the US Abrams or Russia's T-90. H-6K bomber, China's B-52, a symbol of long-range attack capability. 3. Strategic intent behind. The display of these weapons is not accidental. It is like China's way of signaling to the world. To the US, we have the DF-41 that is capable of reaching your continent. To Japan and India, the J-20 and H-6K will always be formidable neighbors that you have to consider. To smaller countries in the region, look, we are strong enough to protect our interests and no one can underestimate us. 4. Humorous connection. A military parade is like showing off a wedding car. Some commentators sarcastically said that China's military parade is no different from a grand wedding in the country. Rich families bring their brides in luxury cars, while Beijing brings back historical memories with tanks, missiles, and planes. It sounds lame, but in fact, it reflects one thing. China wants to show the world that it is rich, strong, and not afraid to show off. Chapter 3. Global Impact and Long-Term Significance. 1. Message to the U.S. and the West. In the context of fierce U.S.-China competition on all fronts, from trade to technology and security, this parade is like a steel open letter from Beijing to Washington. The message is, don't think that only the U.S. is capable of being the global policeman. We, China, also have a modern army and are ready to protect our interests. 2. Reaction from neighboring countries. Japan will definitely follow very closely because the memory of war is still there. India, seeing the J-20 or DF-41, will certainly not help but worry, especially when the China-India border is still unstable. Russia, although a strategic ally, Moscow also understands deep down that Beijing's rapid growth could pose long-term challenges. 3. Long-term significance for China. This parade will be marked as a milestone in Beijing's journey to build a superpower image. It is both a way to affirm military strength, an internal propaganda tool, and equally important diplomatic stage. 4. Humorous connection. Military muscles are like a gym. Some Chinese people have likened the military to muscles in the gym. If you only exercise without showing off, who will know you have beautiful muscles? The parade is the moment to show off your muscles, to let the whole world see that you not only have strength, but also know how to perform that strength artistically. Conclusion. Looking back at the whole event, we see that the parade to celebrate the 80th anniversary of China's victory over fascism is not only a commemorative ceremony, but also a political, military, diplomatic arena. It sends many messages. Historically, China affirms its role in the 1945 victory. Politically, strengthens national pride and solidarity. Militarily, shows off strength, deters opponents. Diplomatically, reminds the world that Beijing is an indispensable factor in every chessboard of power. This parade, therefore, is like a mirror reflecting all of China's ambitions in the 21st century, wanting to be recognized as a victim and a victor in the past, while also wanting to affirm itself as an irreplaceable superpower in the present and future. And finally, as I always say to the History and War channel audience, if you find this analysis interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that we have more motivation to bring more unique and in-depth perspectives on historical and military events around the world.